It's not bad.
Thank you so much. What is it? What is it? That looks so beautiful.
Ya tengo dos.
Vamos. Just like absorb the sun. And then you'll Rabbi, also have to talk about you hate that I won't be here.
Okay.
I think you Also, I
Is there anybody that didn't get the booklet of chapter 2, Pirkei Avos? Whoever else needs. And then yesterday we gave out something from the Rambam. So this, whoever got maybe one sheet, so this can go to everybody.
Is it like the chapter one? Is it in a basket or is it?
It's a packet.
Oh, we only got the first page before.
Yeah, yesterday I only gave out one sheet. Thank you.
Where's the Sherman? Right there. No, but when we talk about it, probably
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to use the sheets from the Rambam. Again, this is chapter 1 in Hilchos Deis, the laws of character traits. And the Rambam is describing how different people have different natures and they can be very distant from each other to the extreme. One is extremely one way, one is extremely the opposite. And everybody has their nature. And he went through a few examples. So we turn the page. He's going to finish with the English. What? Did we finish the whole paragraph? I know we left off in the middle then. Maybe we should start. Let me read it. Let me just go over again because we ended up somewhere in the middle. So let me start again from where it says one type of man. Let's just read it all together. One type of man is wrathful, full of anger, constantly angry. In contrast, there is the calm individual who is never moved to anger. Or if at all, he will be slightly angry. Even if he's moved to anger, it won't be such a anger and such a passion. It'll be in a very light way. And perhaps during a period of several years. First of all, it will be light. And second of all, it will be once in who knows how many years. Then there's a person that's filled with a lot of pride, meaning an arrogant person, and one who's exceptionally humble. There's a man that's ruled by his appetites and will never be satisfied from pursuing his desires. And there's a person with a very pure heart who does not desire even the little that the body needs. There is the greedy person who cannot be satisfied with all the money in the world. Like it says, a lover of money never has his fill of money. Then there is the man who puts a check on himself. He is satisfied with even a little, which is not enough for his need, and he does not bother to pursue and attain even that he lacks. There is a miser who torments himself with hunger, gathering his possessions close to himself, which means he can't spend any money. Whatever he has, he holds on to it. He can't part with it. That's one type of person. Then you have the other type, the opposite. Whenever he spends a penny, this is still the same. Whenever he spends a penny of his own, turn the page, he does so with great pain. He has to put his hands in his pocket and take out money and spend it. It's painful. That's why a credit card is so helpful. You don't feel the pain. It's very helpful for the credit card company and for the businesses, but we don't have to, because if people would actually have to pay cash every time they buy something, they would buy much less because they have to take the money out. Conversely, there is a person who's a spendthrift who consciously wastes his entire fortune just spending money, enjoys spending money. So all other traits follow the same pattern of contrast. So for example, there's someone who's overly elated, always jumping and happy, and there's someone who's depressed. There's someone who's stingy and someone who's free-handed. Someone who's cruel and someone who's soft-hearted. Someone who's a coward, he doesn't have the courage to do anything, and there's someone who's rash and will do wild things. What?
It's a coward.
Not very.
Coward?
Coward.
I guess being afraid to take challenges, afraid to take a chance in doing something that you need to do. What?
Like paranoid?
No. I mean, anything, it could be anything and everything. It could be someone who's, we might say paranoid because, but paranoid, I'm not sure. I'm not a psychologist, know exactly what the difference is. But we're not talking about someone just overcome with some sort of a fear. It means anything that requires, there's a little bit of a risk in it, he'll back off rather than taking the risk.
You think that like stuff's always going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's
still exist in life anyway.
a person's paranoid can just make things up out of the blue. This is something which really there's a risk, but the fear of the risk overpowers him, and he's not ready to take any kind of risk. Now, number two, between each trait and the contrasting trait at the other extreme, there are intermediate points. Each one is distant from the other. There's a little diagram on the bottom of the page. You see that line there? He's just showing the person who's stingy, extremely stingy, which means he doesn't spend any money. Then the other extreme is a person who's very free-handed, spends all his money, and he loses a fortune. And in the middle, there are people that are either closer to this end or closer to that end. Not everybody's exactly the same. With regards to all the traits, by the way, the Rambam is not Chassidus, it's a book of halacha. So he tells us what the facts are. But what would be the answer to the question why? How come Hashem made one person that he should have naturally this tendency for anger, and another person naturally has the tendency to be calm? One person has naturally the tendency to be spending every penny that he has, and the other person naturally has the tendency to hold on to every penny. Why does Hashem give people these different natures?
They're able to harness it and meant to harness it in positive ways.
So why?
It has to do
Why the differences? What?
It has to do with their purpose.
It has to do with their purpose, correct? With the shlichut. Every person has a shlichut in this world. And the point is that all these things are important to accomplish. It's a little bit like you would ask a question. If there's a building that you want to build a new building, you're going to hire different kind of people to work. One person is the person who's going to do the bricks. One person is going to do the electricity. One person is going to do the plumbing. One person is going to do the glass. One person will do the roof. Why do we have so many different people? And it's very simple, because a building has a lot of details to it. A building has a roof, a building has plumbing, a building has electricity, a building has a foundation, and for each thing, you need a person who knows and is an expert in that area to do it right. So the same is with the world. The world was created to make this world into a dwelling place for Hashem. In order to become a dwelling place for Hashem, there's a lot of different things that need to be done. One of them is study Torah. One of them is do acts of kindness. One of them is to help a person that's sick. One of them is to help a person financially. One of them is help a person spiritually. One of them is to help a person emotionally. There's all these spiritual needs that exist in the world. And Hashem sends down, Neshama sends down souls to the world, and each soul is designated. Your job is to contribute to the creation this way. And your job is to contribute to the creation a different way. So basically, everything that we talk about is accomplishing a spiritual purpose. One person, the reason why Hashem created them was their purpose and their shlichus was to overcome the Yetzer Hara for anger. And for somebody else, it's to overcome the Yetzer Hara for dishonesty. And for somebody else, it's overcome the Yetzer Hara for laziness. So Hashem creates me with that weakness, that I feel lazy, or I'm angry, or I have a desire to do something which is not so honest. And my mission is to overcome that. And by overcoming it and conquering it, I draw down godliness in this world one way. And the other person, by overcoming a different character trait, draws down godliness in this world in a different way. Altogether, we have the spiritual symphony of what Hashem wants in this world. So there are different purposes, and each one of us is there to contribute to one of those purposes. So my nature, my characteristics, and everything else about me is designed that I should be able to do the job that I need to do. So what I'm really saying is that if a person overcomes anger, don't look at it just like, oh, I'm just preventing myself from doing something bad. It's more than that. I've sort of taken a certain space in this world which is negative. It's a dark spot. It's called anger. And I, through my Aveda, brought light into that place. And everyone has to bring light in different places. Understood? Any questions? Any challenges? No? Your shlichus is to ask me questions. Well, there's a company here in America. It's called Sleepy's. They sell mattresses, and their whatever their thing is that we make this world a better place to sleep. So some people are here to make the world a better place to sleep, I guess, but that's not the real purpose from a Torah perspective. No.
Does it say anywhere how we're supposed to find out about like our specific
I mean, generally speaking, there are two ways we can find out. It's very hard to really know definitely, but the two ways are to look and see our tendencies. In other words, when a person sees that I have a certain weakness in a certain area, it's very likely that's why I have this weakness, because my shlichus is to overcome anger or whatever the weakness is. So I have to look at both. What are my special strengths? So if someone, for example, is extremely talented in music, it could be my shlichus is to contribute to the world and bring godliness into the world through music. And if I have a weakness, not a talent, but a weakness, I'm weak in a certain area, then my shlichus is to overcome that weakness. So this is the way we have to look around to figure out what's our shlichus. Of course, a lot of things are just hashgacha pratis. I was born in this country. I was born to this set of parents. I was born in this time of history. These are things we have no control over. And certainly it was done this way by Hashem because that's related to my purpose. Whatever it is about me and my life.
Could you repeat the thing of the dark spots?
What I'm saying is, try to imagine when I say that our purpose is to bring Hashem's light into this world. So normally you imagine, okay, I do a mitzvah, I bring light into the world. But it's also with the negative. If I have a negative character traits, like anger, and let's say I work on myself and I overcome anger. I have a character trait to be depressed and I overcome depression. I have a character trait to be arrogant and I overcome arrogance or jealousy. What I've done, I took a dark space, which is arrogance is dark and depression is dark and anger is dark and laziness is dark. And by correcting it, I brought godly light into a specific place in the world, a specific dark place in the world. Yeah. The one thing which is no way we can ever understand is when we say to ourselves, okay, I understand everyone has a purpose, but why did Hashem give my friend the purpose to be rich? And why did he give me the purpose to serve him when you're poor? I'd like to have the other purpose. That's beyond our comprehension, right? Okay.
Rabbi Majeski,
Yeah.
does that have something to do with like the merit that we earned in the life and like a previous incarnation?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it has to do. The reason why I am rich or poor or something else is because I had a previous life and I'm here again in order to correct something. So therefore, the things that I'm doing now is related to helping me correct what it needs to correct from a previous life. But even in the first time that I came down, why was things the way they were? That could have to do with the specific soul and what Hashem chose for this person to do.
And is there a point after we die, for instance, when we find out what specifically was our purpose in this life, and we get to find out and kind of compare it to what we actually did versus what we were intended to do?
I guess when the soul goes back to its source and there's a judgment, that's part of the judgment. And you were here for a purpose, and did you fulfill your purpose? So this is part of the purpose which we all have. Shabbos is part of our purpose, and Kashrus is part of our purpose, and all the mitzvahs are part of our purpose. But then everyone has a specific purpose, and it's usually related to our specific area in life, our social circles, our family, our place of work. There's something there that specifically relates to my purpose.
Probably.
Yes.
We'll always say that there is also always this ability to ask Hashem something, and He listens to us and He gives us whatever we need and want. But as you just said, there are people who are rich and who are poor, and there is it has to be in the world. But I know there are people who want and they need money, and they're struggling because they have no money. I don't know, the father has a lot of kids, but Hashem still doesn't give them money or this ability to have the money, work, job, whatever. So why it works this way? I don't know what is okay, but it's not enough for me,
I can't reveal everything, you know that already. But what I based on what I said before, it means like this: that there's a certain accomplishment. Imagine a person who is suffering from poverty, and even though they're suffering from poverty, they still believe in Hashem, they still trust in Hashem, they still do the mitzvahs. They don't let the poverty disturb their loyalty to Hashem and disturb fulfilling their purpose. So that is a very unique way of serving Hashem. And that's what I'm accomplishing by living this kind of life. There's another person who's wealthy, and being wealthy is also very challenging. When a person has a lot of money, there's a lot of challenges, a lot of things that come along with the money. And here again, I have to overcome those challenges and serve Hashem, even though I have a lot of money, right? So that means both people are serving Hashem. Both people are accomplishing something, and they're bringing godliness into the world in a specific way, one different than the other. What I did say was the thing we don't understand is, why do I have this purpose? And why does he have that purpose? I would have liked to change. So this is the part which Hashem does it because this is what he wanted, but this is something which is beyond human comprehension. This part is beyond human comprehension, but on the other hand, this part is really my deepest connection to Hashem, because this is what he wants from me.
So if there's possibility to change it, it can said like the person that comes to this world to change something like that he didn't like do before.
Oh, so let me explain something. Would that mean that, let's say I'm poor and I'm serving Hashem as a poor person, I shouldn't try to get more money or have a better situation because I'm meant to be poor? That's not true. I don't know what I'm meant to until I get there. Maybe I was meant to be poor until today, and now I'm meant to be in a better situation. So according to Torah, every person is supposed to try to improve their situation, financially, physically, emotionally. So if something is happening which is challenging, and I'm davening to Hashem to take away that challenge, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what Hashem wants us to do. The only time we say it's Hashgacha Pratis, and that's my purpose, is when I look back on the past, not into the future. Unless it's something which is impossible to change. So if a person, for example, is upset, I'm just giving this example because everyone understands it. First, I'm very upset that I'm not a Kohen. I wanted my father to be a Kohen and he wasn't. Why? That's silly thoughts, because you can't change it. So obviously Hashem meant for my neshama to be working as a Kohen. It reminds me of a joke. They tell this joke that a man came to a Rav. You have to understand Hebrew to get the joke. But a man came to a Rav and he said to him, I'm having a very hard time with my daughter. She's a very good girl. She has a lot of qualities, but somehow I can't find a shidduch for her. So the Rav says it's because she's not a Bas Talmud Chacham.
Because her father's name.
Bas Talmud Chacham is not a daughter of a Torah scholar. So he came home and started to scream at her, why aren't you a Bas Talmud Chacham? Look what you're doing to yourself. But the problem was him, not her. So if a person is not a son or a daughter of a Kohen, just like with some, it's a waste of time, energy to think about what if I was a Kohen? Why can't I be? All these thoughts are irrelevant. Obviously, this is Hashem's plan for me. Now, why did Hashem plan for my cousin to be a Kohen and for me not to be a Kohen? These are all thoughts that we'll never be able to understand. This is something which is known only to Hashem himself. I just have to know what is my shlichus, and the thing that will give me the greatest pleasure in life is to do my shlichus the best way. But if it's something that could change, not like a Kohen, something I could change, I definitely should do whatever I can to change my situation and make it better.
So there's always a possibility like to change it.
That's what davening is all about. That's why we daven. Otherwise, we wouldn't daven.
So even if Hashem decided they were going to be like,
But we don't know what he decided for the rest of my life. It's like someone would say, if I have a cold, obviously Hashem wants me to have a cold. I'm not going to go to the doctor. No, he wanted you to have a cold yesterday, and today he wants you to go to the doctor. Once you realize you have a cold, you're supposed to go to a doctor to get healed.
so he just knows like whatever, like what are we going to choose, but he doesn't choose for us, right? Like what to be.
There are a lot of things that Hashem leaves, that's our free choice. But when can I say about something, this is from Hashem, and there's nothing I can do about it, only if I talk about the past. I can't say that about the future. Unless it's something in the future that can't be changed.
Okay.
So then the Rambam says, these character traits, where does a person have it from? From the beginning of his conception, which means it's something which is biological, in accordance with his bodily nature, what we call today genes. It's part of the genes in the body. Some are appropriate to a person's nature and will therefore be acquired by more easily than others. Some traits he does not have from birth, may have learned them from other people or turned them into his own. This may have come as a result of his own thoughts, or because he heard that this was a proper trait for him, which he should attain. Therefore, he accustomed himself to it until it becomes part of himself. So one of the things to know about character traits is that there's a phrase in Hebrew, and the phrase is Hergel Nasa Teva, which means when you get into a habit of doing things, it could become your nature, or sometimes it says it becomes second nature. And it says that it is very difficult to undo a habit. If I get used to doing something once and again and again and again, it could become part of me. So I was born without this nature, but now that I'm doing this every single day and all the time, it could become my nature. Sometimes for the positive, and sometimes it could be for the negative. Like one of the reasons it says that it's so important to give tzedakah every day. I would think tzedakah means if someone walks over to me and asks me for help, I have to give tzedakah. But do I have to just go over and put money into a pushka? So the answer is, first of all, it's a mitzvah. Why not do the mitzvah? But besides that, when I take money and I put it into a pushka, I'm doing an act of kindness every day. That helps a person develop the nature of being kind, especially if you think about what you're doing. I'm giving money, I'm trying to help somebody. So a habit becomes a second nature. So if I get into the habit of doing certain things with davening or learning or mitzvahs, it could become a second nature. If I get into the habit of doing negative things, even though I don't want to be a negative person, but I just did it once, I did it a second time, I did it a third time, I did it a 10th time, and that also becomes second nature. And therefore, the Rambam says we can have character traits either because we were born with it or because we did it as a habit and it became second nature. And now it becomes very difficult to change. Not impossible, but difficult. So now the Rambam is going to talk about the middle path. These two, going to number 3. Paragraph 3, the two extremes of each trait, which are at a distance from one another, do not reflect a proper path. It's not fitting that a man should behave in accordance with these extremes or teach them to himself. If he finds that his nature leans towards one of the extremes or adapts easily to it, or if he has learned one of the extremes and acts accordingly, he should bring himself back to where it is proper and walk in the path of good men. What is it? That's called the straight path. So in other words, if I find that I'm doing something which is good, but very extreme, I should work on myself to, even though if it's a good thing, but because it's extreme, I should work on myself to go back to the middle path, not to the extreme.
Something defined as extreme.
Okay, so that's a really big question. How do you define something as extreme?
Some people might think it's extreme to put a coin in a tzedakah box every day.
Right. Some people say, I go to shul Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but to go to shul every Shabbos, that's very like fanatic already. I can see to it that I can have kosher in the house, but even when you go out to a restaurant to eat kosher, that's extreme. Right, so how do you judge what's extreme, what's not extreme? There has to be a point of reference. Where am I judging from what's extreme, what's not extreme? So clearly the point of reference has to be Shulchan Aruch. There's a Torah law where the Torah says this is required. This is an obligation. It's not a question. I can choose yes or no. Torah says you have to keep Shabbos, you have to keep kashrus, and there's halacha. Now, if I want to go beyond the letter of the law to do more than what's required, so I measure according to that. Am I going very far beyond or in a balanced way?
How does that?
What?
How does that work for the requirements for women are not the same as the requirements for men? So what's extreme for a woman might be what's normal.
No, the same thing. So a woman has her halachas.
Yeah. So
And within the realm of her halacha, she has to judge. That's how our point of reference. If I'm going way beyond the requirement of halacha, or I'm doing it in a certain balanced way. You can do tznius in a way that when you walk outside, you cover yourself from head to toe, and you have two things to pick out through your eyes, and that's tznius. We don't do that kind of thing. There are other cultures that do that, but not Torah Jews don't do that. And that means I can take a certain aspect of Yiddishkeit, but do it to an extreme. So the same thing with everything, with kashrus. But in order to judge what's extreme and what's not extreme, you definitely have to know the base, where you're coming from. The base is Shulchan Aruch, halacha. That's why very often parents will say that you're being too extreme and too fanatical because they don't learn Shulchan Aruch. So they think that being kosher, I'm talking about serious people who respect religion, respect Yiddishkeit, respect what you're doing, but they'll still feel that not to eat treif out in a restaurant, that's being extreme. Or having milk and meat separately in the house is one thing, but you actually have different pots and pans. The reason why they'll think it's extreme because they don't know the halacha about fleishik and milchik pots and pans.
Like if you're going to this extreme stuff, or like.
And the Shulchan Aruch brings down certain things that this is too extreme. But this is what we need to know what's considered extreme, what's not. Right. This is a very important subject because a lot of people, I would say, stumble in this area of either in the positive and the negative, doing something which might think that it's okay, but really it's extreme. How do we make that true judgment? Sometimes it's one of those things where we need a mashpia, someone on the outside to help him make the judgment. But to be continued with this question. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Right, I'm going to the bookstore now. So
Yeah, I was thinking about it the whole day. I don't know. I saw that they write that there's a lot of Spanish books there.
yeah, downstairs. There is so much, so many. And but it's fine. I'm not gonna buy anything.
English.
You were talking about the one that looked up.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just questioned it too much, but then like when I started.
What about a book on Pirkei Avos? They have sichos from the Rebbe on Pirkei Avos. Books explaining Pirkei Avos.
I'm gonna look.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hatzlacha.
Thank you. This is like the biggest bookstore, or the one like everyone goes.
It's probably the biggest. There's
Yeah, so they call that like.
2, 3 on Kingston Avenue.
Can't tell you that.
Wow.
The next biggest one is one that's called Judaica. It's on Kingston between President and next Union Street. It's also a nice store. It's a lot of books. And maybe they have other languages too. Okay. Hatzlacha.
Thank you.
I'm taking over Florida with Hindalaya Sharfstein.
You're taking over?
Yeah, obviously. I'm taking over Florida. I have to be able to take over Florida before I can take over Crown Heights.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Dale.
Okay.
Okay.
And so it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
No, it should be really good because it'll like. Do I have any desire to go on travels? No, not really. However, the programs like this are what I would be interested in doing.
Right.
Because it's like, it allows me to stay in a big city. Because for me, public transit, I can't go back to not having it. That's just not an option. So it'll be nice because then it gives me that opportunity to like have that shortlist experience, but not, you know.
Okay. That sounds great. How long is the program?
It would be December 30th to January 9th. It's like a week and a half.
Okay.
Why? I'm sorry. That sounded more aggressive than I meant it to be.
I was just gonna ask you to pass my stuff, but it's fine.
They already had a caffeinated beverage. The house is fine. The ice is flat. An ice is caffeinated beverage. So I've already had one, so I can't do anything else right now, right? Well, if I go too far, then like I'll feel like I'm having like